Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking through the 25 books that I want to get to in 2025. So how I organized it in new releases, continuing series, and off my physical TBR. Most of the books on here are books that have been on my physical TBR for at least more than a year or two. Some of them I did get for Christmas or my birthday, so they are relatively new. And I do actually have two honorable mentions that I didn't put on this list, but I have no idea why. The first one is going to be City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. This is the third book in the Mortal Instruments series. I am slowly trying to make my way through the rest of Cassandra Clare's works in the Shadowhunter world because I read The Infernal Devices back in early 2021 and just never read the rest of her books but bought them all. And I'm finally making my way through the Mortal Instruments series. This is actually the last book in like the first part of the series. It's a 6-book long series, but technically how you read them in order, you read the first 3, which is City of Bones, City of Ashes, and then City of Glass, and then you go back and read Infernal Devices, and then you continue on with the last 3 books in the series: City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. Really excited to continue on with this series. I am enjoying it. I think what's making me enjoy it just a little bit less is because you could definitely tell it's why. If I would have read this when I was like 11, 12, 13 years old when you're actually supposed to read it, I think I would have loved it. Besides one little thing that takes place, and that's all I'm gonna say for that. For the majority of it, I think I would have loved this as a kid. Just never really read a lot when I was in like middle school and stuff, just because kids are mean, and that's all I have to say on that. Really excited to finish up the series, jump into my favorite series, which is The Infernal Devices, finish off this, and then I get to go into The Last Hours and The Dark Artifices. Now getting to the rest of the books here, I'm going to start off with the new releases. I have 2 new releases on this list, and I'm also going to go through the 3 books that I don't physically own. So the first book I actually have, which is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the 3rd book in the Empyrean 4th Wing series. I did get the edition with the dragons and I love them. Yeah, really excited to get to this. I am filming a whole rereading and then reading Iron Flame and reading Onyx Storm reading vlog, which should be the reading vlog after this video. Definitely want to get to this one. The next book that I have on here for new releases is Fearless, which is the 3rd and final book of the Powerless trilogy by Lauren Roberts. I am so excited for this book. It comes out in April. I loved Powerless so much. I didn't love Reckless. It definitely wasn't my favorite. By the end of it, like, the ending had me hooked. And like, I want to keep reading because of the ending and because I want more of Kai and Peyton. And then the last 3 books are books that I don't physically own, but I'm definitely going to be getting throughout the year. So the first one is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is the 1st book in the, I think it's just Red Rising series. One of my goals for this year is to get into sci-fi. There are a few that I have in mind that I want to get to, one of them being Red Rising. So yeah, Daughter of No World by Chris Bonbent. I've been wanting to read this book for quite a while since I've heard it being compared to Throne of Glass, which is one of my favorite series. It's like tied with Infernal Devices, but like I love them for separate reasons, so like it's really hard to differentiate like which one is actually my favorite. I do feel like I'm gonna go into that one with high expectations, so like I need to mentally put my expectations down, because if I know if I go into it knowing that it's like just like Throne of Glass, I just know I'm doing the book a disservice and I'm not gonna enjoy it as much as I would. So I want to read it, I just have to like adjust my expectations pretty much. And then the last book that I have on here is the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang. I looked on my Goodreads the other day and I put this down as I want to read on like February 4th or February 8th of 2021. Why haven't I read it? I could not tell you, besides the fact that I'm scared, and I feel like I'm either not gonna like it or I'm not gonna understand it. I just have to read it. I just need to read it and make that assumption for myself. So yeah, those are the few books that I don't have right now, but I'm definitely going to be getting, or at least hopefully going to be getting this year. So now I'm gonna go into all the books that I physically own. First, I'm gonna start with series that I'm in the middle of. So the first book that I have on here is Iron Flame. This is the 2nd book in the Empyrean series. I am obviously in the middle of this because I'm reading it for that video. I'm currently on page 161, chapter 17, and I'm liking it so far. I'm definitely not loving it as much as 4th Wing. I'm actually listening to this on audiobook. I have the graphic audio and it is amazing, and like I'm reading along physically. The whole experience, the whole reading experience is top tier. The book itself is okay. Like, I'm liking it and enjoying it enough to keep going on with it, but recently these past couple days I haven't really been itching to read it, which is not good because I am filming a video for it, and I do want to like see what happens at the end of this book because I know nothing. I know nothing at all about what happens in this book, what happens in Onyx Storm. I don't know how I was able to stay away from spoilers for this long, considering this book came out at the end of 2023. Here we are, January of 2025. Yeah, really, I'm really intrigued just to see where the story is going. I'm definitely going to be finishing this like by the end of the week. And the next book is also another book that has been on my shelf for way too long, which is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 5th book in the ACOTAR series. I have not read this book. Don't ask me why. Honestly, it's a little bit chunky. Have I read books that are longer than this and had no problem? Absolutely. Why I'm scared about this one, I have no idea, because I like Nesta and I love Cassian. Cassian's hilarious. I am intrigued and I'm really excited to jump into this story because I want to learn more about Nesta. I want to get more of Cassian's backstory and like how they like came to be like a couple. From what I remember, granted I read the series back in 2021, I'm definitely going to be doing a reread before I actually jump into this book. From what I remember, we didn't get like a whole bunch of scenes of Nesta and Cassian in those 3-4 books. I'm actually really excited to go back into this because I do miss the world of ACOTAR. I miss the characters and I think I'll have a really fun time with this one. And I've heard that this is actually some of people's favorites, or like it's tied with The Court of Mist and Fury. Definitely going to be getting to this one this year because I do want to reread the ACOTAR series. So the next book that I have on here is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I'm also slowly making my way through the Harry Potter series, but this book is also chunky, so it's intimidating, and I'm intimidated by it. So that's honestly mainly the main reason why I haven't picked this book up. Love the movie. It's a very interesting movie with all like the trials and the game. Robert Pattinson, eccentric. We just don't talk about the ending because like it literally did not have to happen. Definitely want to get through this. I think this will be a really good audiobook. The next one is Crooked Kingdom. I think I've talked about this before on my channel, why I haven't read this book. So I originally read Six of Crows back in 2021 and I loved it. Six of Crows is one of my favorite books of all time. Actually just reread it because I wanted to finally give this book a chance. But originally I didn't read this book because I saw something on TikTok which kind of was a spoiler about something that happened to a character. I just didn't want to read about it, so I never did. And I put it off. So I am actually in the middle of this book. I started it a couple weeks ago, but like not DNF'd it, not soft DNF'd it. Kind of just put it down because like I wasn't really in the mood, and for this book I did not want to push myself through it. I didn't want to read it just to get it over with. I am going to be jumping back into this soon, most likely after I finish with the Fourth Wing video because that's kind of like my sole focus right now. These characters mean everything to me. This has some of the best found family in it, and like the characters are so well thought out. I have no words for how amazing this book series and these characters are, and Leigh Bardugo knows how to write. She is an amazing writer. I've actually been thinking about reading Ninth House by her. I'm definitely going to be finishing this, and I am annotating it. I have a whole, you can't really, can you tell? Also, I just don't want the series to end and I don't want to say goodbye to these characters. And then the next book that I have here is Just for the Summer by Effie Menace. I would love to read this book in the summer. I do have a plan to read this in a video. Probably not going to be read in the summer, but I got Yours Truly recently. I'm also going to be reading this in a video that's coming out soon. Definitely want to finish up the series, so technically both of these are on my 2025 list, but this is the one that I actually wrote down. When I made this list, I mainly was doing it so I would get the books off my physical TBR, not ones that are coming out in the year, because the way that there are so many books coming out this year, it's actually insane. And then the last one that I have on here is a book that I have also been meaning to read for so long. I feel like I could say that for all these. So in general, all these books I've been wanting to read for a long time, and that is Thrive by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is the 6 books in the whole Calloway and Addicted series, but the 4th book in Lillian Lowe's story, which is the Addicted series. The only reason why I haven't read this is just because I'm putting it off and I don't want to say goodbye to these characters. The fact that I still have more books to continue on with, it keeps me happy. Because then after reading this, I read their last book, and Lily and Lauren, I love them with my whole entire heart. Out of all 3 of the sisters and the couples, Lily and Lauren are my favorite by a lot. These characters just mean so much to me, and I just don't want to say goodbye to them. I still literally have 4 more books left in the series. It's just, that's like 4 or 5 more books closer to it ending. So that concludes the series that I'm in the middle of. The rest of these books have just been on my TBR, like I said, for a long time. The first one that I have here is Stranger Damer by Laini Taylor. I've heard nothing but great things about this book, and I've heard the writing is supposed to be really pretty too. I think this takes place in like a book within a book or something like that. This is one of Katie's readings, one of her favorite books, and I've been wanting to read it because of her. That's kind of where I got the recommendation from. Definitely want to get to this one this year just because like a book within a book or something about that. Something about books, I'm pretty sure. The dream chooses the dreamer, and she's a librarian. I think I'm going to love this. And then the next book that I have in here, I just realized like these 3 books I'm about to talk about are all of Katie's readings, some of her favorite books. So the next one I have is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Also, like I said, this is also one of Katie's readings' favorite books. If you can't tell, I love Katie's reading. I love her channel, and I feel like we have similar book taste. She compared this to House Moving Castle, which is a Studio Ghibli film. I love that movie so much, and the music, like also the character and the stories obviously. And she said it has very similar vibes to that. The main character is really similar to Howl, which is the main character in the movie. So I'm really intrigued. I actually don't really know what this is about. She talked about like the writing being really good too. The last one that I have on here, which is a recommendation from her, is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is actually the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. Like this pastel blue and purple. It has the deckled edges here, and then it also has the French flaps as well. Something that I found really interesting about this book is that it's told in journal entries. There aren't really chapters, there's dates. So like you just go through and like the different chapters are just dates and journal entries. I do feel like I have to be in a certain mood, a certain like cozy fantasy mood for this one, from what I've heard from like other people talking about it. Don't know if it's going to be picked up soon, but I do want to get to it probably more by like the end of the year. So the next book I have on here is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I love V.E. Schwab's writing so much. I've read The Vicious Duology by her, and just the first book, it's perfect. Literally couldn't tell you a single bad thing about that book. It's the second one where it crosses the line, like, did this book actually really need a sequel? I've been wanting to read this book since I got onto Book Talk in BookTube back in 2020. Again, I couldn't tell you why. I haven't read this book. I've been wanting to read this book for so long. She ended up changing the covers. These covers, don't like them. I started this book before. I only got like 10 pages in. I think I took it to the beach, and I guess I had a wet towel in there, and it like bubbled up. It bubbled up the bottom. It's all like wrinkly on the bottom, and it's so annoying. When I read this, and if I end up really enjoying it, which I think I will, just because the premise of it sounds so interesting. There's like 4 different Londons, and then this guy can like go in between them. Okay, so the next book that I have in here, I have 2 mysteries. First one that I have is Misery by Stephen King. I've really been wanting to get into his work because I haven't read a Stephen King book before. Heard good things about this one, and this is a good like a beginner book to get into his work because he has so many books. I don't know how many books he has written. I actually just got this book for Christmas, but it's The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the first book in a quartet. There's 4 books. I've heard nothing but great things about this. I have read the Inheritance Games. I only read the first one and then kind of DNF / soft DNF'd the second one. I've heard it being compared to Criminal Minds. They work for the FBI, and each of them has like a special ability that helps them with the FBI. I think that's kind of what it is. So I'm really intrigued as for this one. I definitely want to get to this one soon. It just sounds so interesting, and I really think I'm gonna enjoy it. And I think they're on Kindle Unlimited too. So the next book that I have on here is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. So actually, I have a funny story about this, which I didn't even remember till I was going back through my reading journal. So I've actually read this book before. But I tell you a single thing about this book? No. I read this, I got this book on audiobook a couple years ago, and I remember being in a very weird reading / life slump. A lot of things were going on, and I just wanted to read something. I wanted to listen to something, and I ended up just listening to the audiobook. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, but yeah, so want to get to this one because from what I remember, I did enjoy it. I didn't love it. Definitely want to give this one another try. I love Stephanie Garber's other book, the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, that technically comes after this. So I'm really intrigued to see like how much you actually have to read this series before Once Upon a Broken Heart. I'm really excited to get to this one. So the next book that I have here is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. I've been wanting to read this book for quite a while, even though I just recently got it. And also like the cover, like I love the skeleton. I don't know why. All the chapters have like the little skeleton like hand. It has like stuff to do with like different paranormal creatures, I'm pretty sure. I don't really know, but the main girl is trying to sell this like house, but it's like a haunted house, and then there's something to do with like death, like the character death. So yeah, really excited about this one. I think I'm really going to like it. I just have to be in a mood for it. It's like one of those books. The next book that I have on here is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I'm scared that either I'm not going to like it or I'm not going to understand what's going on, because I just know that there's like a lot of themes and a lot of things that have like meanings underneath them. I have read If We Were Villains by Emma Rio, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I loved it so much. The mystery, the character, the whole thing that had to do with like Shakespeare. But I've put this on an endless amount of TBRs. I've never gotten to it. Also because it is quite a long book. The font is tiny. I think I'm gonna like it. I just have to be in the right mood for it. So the next book that I have in here is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I just recently got this book. I've been wanting to read this since it kind of started getting popular on Book Talk. Just the cover itself is actually stunning. And like these sprayed edges, like I love this color. It's just the purple, it doesn't do it for me. It has the end paper artwork, the chapter headings, like that is beautiful. The next book that I have in here is Mistborn or The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I have actually started this book before. This is also one of those books that has like really tiny font. It just makes me intimidated by it, and this is another book that I like gave it a soft DNF'd because I wasn't really in the mood for it, but I definitely want to finish this off and continue on with the rest of the trilogy. The next book that I have on here is Divine Arrivals by Rebecca Ross. Like I want to read this book, but like I just haven't really had the motivation to want to pick it up. Probably just end up reading on an audiobook. I do have the second one on my bookshelf as well, but this just hasn't been a book that I've been like super intrigued to read. The next book that I have on here is City of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Chronologically, the series that comes after The Infernal Devices. That's why I got this series before I got The Mortal Instruments. I've actually started this before, but the thing is, definitely with her longer books, it does take 100 to 150 pages to actually get in, and I just, again, kind of just fell out of it, wasn't really in the mood for it anymore, but I definitely wanted to continue on with the series after I read some of her previous works. And then the last book that I have in here is Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I remember this blowing up in 2021 on Book Talk, and I actually have started this before, hence it has actually kind of like dirty and messed up. But again, this was also one of those books that I kind of fell out of. It's not like I didn't like it. It's not like it was bad. But this is also another book that I just haven't really been gravitating towards recently. If I get to it, I get to it. If I don't, I don't. It's not a big deal. They're just books. It's just reading. I'm gonna read these books eventually. So with all that being said, these are the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. If you guys have any other recommendations of books that you guys think I will enjoy, please leave them down below in the comments. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, morning, night, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.